Hey Bat fans, Luke here, ready to wrap up this weekend with another Bat book, and today we're going to discuss the trade Batman and Harley Quinn, which serves as both a prequel and the sequel to the DC animated movie Batman and Harley Quinn. And the stories that come within this trade were released digitally first, and I believe that's it. I don't remember me seeing any of these stories within this trade in print, which the stories include within this trade. Let's think, like 5 chapters in one. Yes, we got 5 chapters from Harley Quinn and Batman, which serves as the prequel to the movie, and then we have 7 stories from Batman and Harley Quinn that served as the sequel. And again, I don't recall me seeing these stories in physical print, so I think this was done digitally first and then collected in trade. And to be honest, I kind of like that way of doing business to a degree. Don't get me wrong, I love my floppies, but I wouldn't mind seeing every once in a while, outside of the main Bat books, like Batman, Detective, so forth and so on. Sometimes it's kind of going, get the digital option if you don't want digitally to come out, weekly one. I think these all came out weekly. Just hold off and be collected in trade. So that's an interesting marketing technique by DC, which I think there does have room for that in the current market. But don't get me wrong, I'm a floppy. I want my physical copies, my individual copies, and then of course if it's Batman, more than likely I'll double dip and get the trade too. But either way, that's neither here nor there. So this trade in itself, I'm not gonna talk about the movie because the movie, believe it or not, it's kind of hit or miss. I think it's kind of right down the middle as far as Bat fans either liking it or not really liking it. Me, I think I'm like, I lean toward the liking it, but not liking it a whole lot. There's some flaws behind it, but still, it wasn't bad. But this story again kind of ties into that as the prequel and the sequel. And I will say, just looking at it in 2 parts, I think the prequel is vastly superior than. And I'm going to sit there and put sequel in huge quotations, so I'll get to that in a minute. And what the prequel deals with is a story that deals with Harley Quinn ultimately kicking the Joker, and then her getting mixed in with this caper with Poison Ivy, where basically, Wayne Enterprises trying to purchase this land development, and of course that land development, with their plans, what they want to do, might put some eco damage to the area, obviously, so Ivy's not going to like damage the plant, so she's going to thwart that. So basically comes down, there's going to be a big heist, which basically comes down to, not spoiling it too much, Ivy sort of doing the double cross. And when it comes down to it, is that Ivy, or I'm sorry, did I say Ivy? I meant Harley doing the double cross. And you kind of walk away from the story seeing kind of Harley, kind of a little damaged, more damaged than normally you would see. Well, I'll just get a cameo from Condiment King in here, as well as Catwoman. But you see Harley a little damaged in here, in that she gets over the fact that the Joker really doesn't care about her, even as he's getting hauled away from jail. And it was clearly Harley double-crossed the Joker, and like Harley or Joker paid no mind to Harley whatsoever, and that really insulted her. And it comes down to the end with this caper with Ivy. She felt the same exact thing, is that in the end she really didn't feel like Ivy didn't care too much about her. And it kind of leaves at the very end, kind of like we saw in the beginning of the trade, kind of Harley kind of walking away, again, a little damaged. See if I can just go to the last page um, of the first part. Yeah, it's her. She gets released from Arkham from good behavior, and actually kind of see sort of a little tying thread that we might see in one of the other stories. You know, Bruce Wayne kind of seeing the good side of Harley, which again I like that in Harley stories, either in this type of setting or in, you know, even in the current Harley title. You see flashes where Harley wants to do good, and just sometimes in its execution or who she's around with, sometimes she gets influence can kind of play a major factor in how she kind of articulates her way of being, and obviously through her actions. And that's basically the story. Again, not really spoiling a whole bunch on it. Um, Again, what the good part about the first part is that, again, it's 5 chapters. When we say chapters, you gotta keep in mind these are digital first chapters. So these chapters are digital first. They're relatively quick. They're not very long. So the first whole story is 48 pages. So you're probably looking, you know, like at a trade, not trade, maybe 1 or 2 full length issues, if that. Um, and I'll kind of hold off on some other thoughts to the end, where we look at the second part, which is Batman and Harley Quinn, which is the 7 chapter story. And that one is about 70 pages. And where it differs from the first one is whereas the first one felt like a continual story, the next part of the book, which post again kind of serve as the sequel, is really, I think it was like five stories. There's a couple ones where I know the last one is a Suicide Squad story, which is a 2-parter. But everything else, I think there might be one more 2-parter, but everything else are just one and done stories, which kind of deal with putting it in context. It's, 6 days since Harley lit the match. Or if you watch the movie, you kind of get it, what that kind of means. So this is the sequel, and the first one deals with Batman and Blockbuster. It's a quick one, and it was kind of ho-hum, to be perfectly honest. The second story is an Ivy story, which I thought was pretty good. Probably been the second best story in the second half of the book to the sequel. This one, again, kind of deals with how Ivy is sort of like Harley in that she might have some good in her, she's trying, but again, it's that sometimes who she interacts with, again, kind of can influence her negatively. And that corollary is time when Batman's actually talking to Harley. You even see a cameo of Killer Croc and Clayface. The same way Harley is that she's trying, but sometimes you put her in and who she interacts with, again, it impacts her in a negative way. The next one is probably, I think, the best one. It's a Swamp Thing story dealing with the Floratic Man, which I thought this was, again, the best part. And this was 3 minutes after Harley with the match, putting it in context and time. But it was a very well done story, kind of dealing with the Floratic Man and what he's done in the green, trying to make him responsible. And it really was a really good little one-issue story. The next one is, I think, also just a simple one done, dealing with Catwoman and Harley Quinn, obviously. And it was okay. The next one is another one and done. This is actually Harley Quinn trying to get a job in a medical facility, and it turns out that she gets the job by recommendation of Bruce Wayne. Kind of ties into that story I was talking about earlier. Only because the Wayne Foundation being a major contributor to the facility, and then I think it closes up, with a 2-part Suicide Squad-ish type story, which was okay. Again, if you're looking at it, the Swamp Thing story in the back was really good. The Poison Ivy story was also pretty good. Outside of that, the other stories in the back half of the issue were meh, kind of at best. Overall, I will say the best part about this book is the art. And not that the art is revolutionary, it's gonna just really blow you away. It just really does harken back to the animated series. I love the animated series, and I'm collecting the trades, obviously, as well. Now we're up to Batman and Robin Adventures. I think Volume 2 is getting ready to be released. And it's just awesome to look at. And this book in its entirety, especially the first one, because you see Harley and just the classic Harley design. This would be toward like last season of the Batman animated series, just kind of the way the art is set up, the art style. That last year or last part did have a unique feel and look that really was different, I think, from the first couple quote unquote seasons, but it just really brings back the nostalgia. Animated series played a huge role in me being a Batman fan. To be honest, there was a point where I kind of broke away, but you know, '89 Batman with the animated series really did solidify me as a hardcore Batman fan. And then, circumstances, and then obviously the Dark Knight trilogy really brought me back full circle. But I can't deny the animated series really was, I'll just pretty much say it. I mean, it was the thing that really made me a Batman fan was the animated series. And I don't think I'm the only one like that as well. Just played a huge role in my Bat fandom, and just the look of this story for the most part. And again, the second half when you get in that Task Force X story, you kind of get away from it. But this is like the classic Harley Quinn too. It just harkens back to the good old days, which I just freaking loved it. That's the best part. Again, also the first story, while it does kind of tie in as kind of like a prequel to the story, it's a good standalone story, and I think it's a good standalone story in the Batman animated series universe. The bad, I think the second half of the book. I mean, I do like one and done stories, but to be honest, I thought they were kind of choppy, and the tie-in with the sequel part of the movie, yeah, I don't know. It's just, you definitely can tell once you get to the second half of the book, it just felt like the momentum and, I don't want to say the fun, but I sort of do. There was definitely a shift that you can tell that it just felt like it was losing steam a little bit. The opening was really that good. So, all in all, if I had to grade this, I'm going to give it a very positive 2.5 out of 5. And I say that, and that, I mean, it's good. It's average, but I think it's a fun read. Again, while I say fun, it definitely did kind of dip toward the second half of the book. It definitely had its fun part again. It's gonna hit you nostalgia lane right smack down in the face. It's just really great to see, the animated series and storytelling. But I think that in the same time, if you're looking for a good modern Batman, if that's your thing, this is almost kind of going into like the Batman '66 thing. It's, I'm not gonna say it's its own niche of Batman fandom, but it sort of is. This is not your Batman of today, and if you're expecting that in this book, you're gonna be kind of disappointed. But I say compared it to the Batman of today. That's where I kind of give like the average, but a very positive average. 2.5, it's good. I had a blast reading it. It's very quick. I read this in like less than 2 hours. Cover price for this was $24.99 though. Comes down to the recommendation of whether or not to get it or not. this is really up to you. If you're a Batman animated series fan, definitely get this. If not, if your serious Batman is your Batman and nothing else, I think you might be a little disappointed in this. Um, so that said, I mean, I'll leave it up to you. Take the positive 2.5 out of 5 as it is, and just kind of take it from there. It was fun. Not the perfect book, but fun. And which I think, again, we need those every once in a while. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on Batman and Harley Quinn. Hit me up in the comments below if you read this book. We'll bat chat and go from there. So, until next video, which should be the next installment of Batman, take care.